students don't see the big issue with having fried chicken or watermelon at their event. So we have a Black Student Union. Sometimes they'll put on their food menu options for their events. They'll have like chicken and waffles. Administrators or staff, they'll be like, "Why did you put that on your menu?" Or "Why is that what you're offering?"
You know what's funny? As you were saying it, as you were saying it, I thought to myself, I was like, is he making this assumption? I was like, what has happened? Like, what experience has he had that makes him
Yes.
feel this way?
Had to go into this space or this industry with a different mind space and perspective because I could order food off the back of my hand for students and assume and know that the food is going to be gone within minutes. But now, they want the caviars and the steaks and
Okay.
the finer things. So that was an interesting learning curve, I would say, going transitioning into the corporate side.
Joining us today is Adler Marchand, the Director of Events at the Alan B. Levin NSU Broward Center of Innovation. With a background in student affairs, Adler brings a wealth of experience in creating unforgettable experiences for attendees and members of the center. From coordinating events to managing space bookings and logistical operations, Adler is the driving force behind the memorable moments at the center. Beyond his professional role, Adler is passionate about event creation, performances, and serving his church's leadership team. As a vibe creator, he firmly believes in spreading positive energy and love to all. Welcome, Adler Marchand. Welcome to Eventus 365, the podcast that's all about corporate events and the magic behind the scenes. I'm your host, Yanique and I am excited to take you on a journey through the world of corporate events. But before we dive in, let's talk about the stress of creating marketing material for your events. We all know how tough it can be when deadlines are tight and resources are limited, but guess what? YKMD Visual Communications has got your back. Our design firm specializes in working with corporate event professionals just like you, and we're here to help take the stress out of creating stunning graphics for your event. Our team of expert designers can deliver custom brand-compliant designs in just 12 hours. So whether you need branding, signage, marketing materials, or anything else, YKMD's got you covered. Okay, now that that's done, let's start the show. Okay. Hey, Adler. Thanks for hanging out with me.
No problem.
I appreciate you. So you describe yourself as like a vibe curator, right?
Yes, yes.
As a vibe curator, you stress on the importance of like positive energy and love and like everything that you do in an industry that's increasingly getting attention for its struggles in diversity, equity, and inclusion. How do you integrate these values into your event planning process to create an inclusive and welcoming environment for all attendees?
I think about like when it comes to the event planning process, I think about who are my demographics, who is going to be there, what are some potential things that would be essential for to create a positive experience for everybody there. So that's everything from like wheelchair accessibility, making sure that someone is pleasantly greeted when they come to the event. Things like dietary restrictions, making sure that I am mindful of that. A lot of people these days, they're vegan or gluten free, but gluten free has been a very, very, very
Gluten intolerant, yeah.
exactly prominent things when it comes to planning events. So when I'm planning events, I'm intentionally thinking about cool, what are the different demographics that are going to be at this event, and how can I tailor and make sure that they feel that sense of belonging, they feel included when they're at the event. And of course, I'm not going to be able to tailor or cater to everyone, but I want to be as prepared as possible so that way if I do run into a person that needs that special accommodation at the event, it's just that one off, or these two individuals versus a group of people that felt like, oh my gosh, there's nothing here for me, or I don't feel supported, or I don't feel like this event is inclusive. So when my event planning process is very intentional with making sure that I create the space for these individuals.
So I was at this conference called IMEX last month, and I don't know why it's by default referral right now, but the by the time this gets published, it probably won't be last month, but still.
Yes.
But what he said, he was talking about like demographics and how sometimes
demographics puts us in a position where we stereotype people and put people in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you said demographics, I by default, like it popped up, I thought to myself, like, but how do you think about these? How do you think about people without being biased, right?
Without being biased.
Or without creating this stereotypical response to what you think they might
They
need versus what they actually need.
Yes. That's a good question. And a lot of times it's based on experience, not necessarily create those stereotypes or biases, but from previous events, I realized, all right, cool. I realized that there's a lot of people that are gluten free. So how do I make sure that I tailor or cater to this population at my next event? So it's based on those experiences and what I hear about all the time. And then sometimes, depending on the event, I'll get feedback. I'll ask like, hey, what kind of music do you want to hear? I'll send out those assessments prior to. I'll say, hey, what kind of music do you want to hear at the events? Or what kind of food are you looking forward to? I'll see what the demographics are as far as nationality. So, for example, if I have a predominantly Hispanic event, I'll make sure to get a host that speaks Spanish for those events. So I'll do those assessments as much as possible without being biased. I'm not going to just assume, hey, just because it's a group of black people, for example, that they're going to want chicken at the event. So
Almost killed me. I almost died on the inside. I was scared. So you mean all black people don't like fried chicken and watermelon?
right, exactly.
Discovered that fried chicken and watermelon actually really good. I actually discovered that. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, this is a weird
Yes.
combo, but I like it together. What is happening? Anyway,
Yes.
very random.
So, no, it's interesting because being from a Caribbean background, I didn't really necessarily understand like, hey, fried chicken was a predominantly black thing, or it could be considered insensitive. But that's something I had to learn.
Okay, well, you know what? I just learned that too because I've heard like the stereotype, right? But I didn't know that it was insensitive to offer fried chicken.
Right, right, exactly. And then that's
Again, side effect of the Caribbean background. I got you right there.
yes, yes. I have somebody that refuses to eat fried chicken at events. This black guy, he refuses to eat fried chicken at events, especially if it wasn't put on by black people. But he feels like, why is that the first go-to thing? Like, so he's automatically traumatized.
Right, and then so like your demographic, right? Like you're talking about like people within a student environment. So like you have to specifically cater to like their needs, wants.
Yes.
It's,
Yeah,
it's almost like a wedding, but like for school.
exactly. Students don't see the big issue with having fried chicken or watermelon at their event. So we have a Black Student Union. Sometimes they'll put on their food menu options for their events. They'll have like chicken and waffles, and then like administrators or staff, they're like, "Why did you put that on your menu? Or why is that what you're offering? Why that is why the stereotype exists, et cetera, et cetera." But that is a challenge that I sometimes run into when doing certain student events. Students will be like, "Hey, I want this," or "I only want to do this," but everyone's like, "No, that's not inclusive," or "That's not. We're more than that," or this demographic is more than that. And then, so that is an interesting challenge.
So there's a lot of like talk about like the South Florida hospitality industry and stark inequalities that are present. Like
Oh,
how,
yes.
like having been on the ground, like can you share like your personal observations on this? Like what are some steps you think can be taken to address the issue and bring about some kind of like positive change there?
I host these recurring brunch experiences in South Florida because I want to create a culture where similar to like when you go to Houston, Atlanta, DC, they have like these prominent black brunch experiences. So right now in South Florida, we don't really have that. We try to create that, but some way somehow it starts to it loses its
Brunchness?
yeah, brunchness,
Because
turns it
listen. So like as a person who's like lived in Atlanta and like lived in Miami, lived in South like I get you, right?
right, yes.
I mean, even in Atlanta, like I mean, once the sun goes down, where's the food? There is no food. This is just
It's a date, a
unstable.
party.
Yeah, we, we outside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we outside. So in South Florida, I'm trying to create those experiences, and so typically I go to different venues in South Florida and try to work with different restaurants, say, hey, this is a partnership that I'm looking to build with you guys, where I bring the guests, and then in return, they make a lot of money. Like the people that a lot gave us the opportunity, the return for them, the ROI for them is great. But I've run into inequality in different restaurants in South Florida, where automatically I'm a black guy, that I'm going to bring mostly black people. They don't want to host the event here, where they host the same types of event themselves, but they just don't want to give me that opportunity. And then I ran into issues where general manager was like, you can do it, but you have to keep switching the song every 15 minutes. So automatically he just assumed,
Switching the song or switching like the genre, you mean?
yeah, yeah, switching the genre. Sorry. Yes, switching the genre, because in his head, he probably thinks that I'm going to be playing nothing but hip hop the entire time. Even they don't have security, so sometimes when I ask, "Can I have an event here?" Blah blah, they're like, "Yeah, you just got to make sure you have 10 security guards." I'm like,
And it's excessive.
yeah, I'm like, for what? I was like, You have one security guard on a regular day, and then now it's just those experiences, or they'll charge me more to rent spaces and things like that. It's just a lot of things, and I think we don't talk about it a lot, or people are not aware of it. Actually, a lot of people like myself that do events in South Florida, if a venue just tells them no, they'll be like, all right, cool, move on, try to find the next place. But they don't really question, like, why is it that it told me no? Or because sometimes I question, I was like, all right, cool, you denied this event collaboration, but why? And I never hear a response, or they don't have a valid rationale to navigate that. I think we need to start bringing awareness to that, because I think that's something that's not familiar. A lot of times people, again, they get denied and they don't know why, and they just keep it pushing. But South Florida has a great opportunity to create those experiences, like I talked about before. But people feel like they can only now get that in Miami Beach or South Beach and things like that, where there's lots of venues, lots of spaces that you can host similar brunches down here, but we're not given those opportunities because
And when
we're
you
not.
say on here, I need more specificity because I mean South Beach and like Miami, that's also South Florida. So like, are you
Oh yeah,
talking
yeah. Oh
about like
yes. Oh,
Broward, Fort Lauderdale?
Broward, Fort
Yeah.
Lauderdale, Las
Yeah.
Olas area. Even
Listen, you know, I love Las Olas. I used to live there. That was my place. Everything's walking distance. Listen, I used to walk
yes,
from my house to the beach, and you know, people.
yes.
I just driving is not optimal. That's the first thing, and secondly, like I'm gonna be throwing it back. I don't want to drive anyway. Um,
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
but
So
there are a lot of really great venues around.
Miami Beach are the only ones that's having these thriving brunch experiences. But again, there's inequalities there as well. Like you got to be rich and white or Hispanic predominantly. Or a lot of them, they allow, there's venues that actually deny certain women based on color.
Oh gosh.
um
You know
y-
what's funny? As you were saying it, as you were saying it, I thought to myself, I was like, is he making this assumption? I was like, what has happened? Like, what experience has he had that makes him
yes,
feel this way? And then you said denied certain women. I was like, oh wait, I've seen that happen. Oh, I've been there. Like it's really funny. I even like working in just like the event space in like South Florida for as long as I did. I've also been on the other side, like been the staff who's been told, hey, these people can come in, but their heels have to be a certain height, and then they have to have a certain dress code. But if they're white and they have on flats, let them in.
let them in,
Like,
literally.
wait, did you hear yourself? You are a black man. These are the instructions you are given. How is this a thing? And
I-
and for a long time, I accepted that as status quo because that's what I knew. That's what I was taught was like
oh wow.
how you were supposed to approach this, and that's how you were supposed to govern the dress code. And so like, even when I was like going and I was doing like nightlife photography at like these different clubs and stuff, I was a girl, right? So
Mhm.
whatever, I'd come in as like relatively cute, whatever. But I'm wearing flats because, honey, you want me to walk around your
Walk around.
facility and take photos climb on top of stuff and get the crowd. Like, I'm not wearing heels. And I used to have like venues who would push back on me and be like, oh, you have to wear heels. I was like, that's fine, but your deposit is non-refundable.
Oh
And
wow.
then I'd have to like wait for someone who was in charge to come out and
Charge
be like, oh,
fine.
she's the photographer. Yes, the girl with the very large DSLR camera is the photographer. Oh,
Right.
let her in.
Yes. That's so
But
that's
that didn't I look around and be like, but they have on flat. It's really
that
bad because like I go to parties, but like I only go to like I go to like events where I know the owner, so I'm petty. Like those are the
yeah.
events I primarily go to. So I always have on flats now. Like I'm too old. Um
Yeah.
pushback, but I'm pretty sure other people probably still do.
Yeah. I've seen three group of ladies. Two of them were more the on the petite side, and one was voluptuous.
Oh yeah,
The
that's the thing too.
and
Yeah.
they denied the voluptuous. Like
Yeah.
three three
And they told her it was because of the dress code.
yes.
Yeah. Because they're not gonna
That
say because you're fat.
yes,
But
exactly.
I've heard those conversations too, where it's like they want the crowd to look a certain way, so they don't
Right.
put someone in. But I mean, I think this, even like this pulls so far away from like the traditional corporate event environment, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like when you're talking about social events,
Social, correct.
may or may not be like sponsored by like a large corporation. Maybe like I guess we can talk about like maybe like the liquor sponsors at this
Y-
point, or
Yes.
maybe like the venues who are like partnering in the scenario, whatever it is, and creating these very weird dynamics. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot about this for a while, which is really sad. I'm glad especially when
Yes.
like you're outside of South Florida for a while. South Florida is really known for like being very
So
specific
yes.
about the kind of crowd they want in their space. And a lot of
Yes.
it is like slender girls who are like fair skinned to some degree or white. And then
Yes.
after that, it kind of just stops.
Hmm. Yes. And then for the gentleman,
Guys
again,
that buy bottles can get away with anything.
exactly.
Oh, the struggle. Oh, okay,
Listen.
so quick transition because I feel like we can stick on this one for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
In the event planning, right, the relationship with vendors is like vital. So how do you
Yes.
maintain a strong relationship, like a collaborative relationship with your vendors to ensure like smooth operations at your events, the ones that are like not like looking at you crazy? And like, can you share any of the tips for our listeners on effective vendor negotiation and communication?
Yes. Number one is prior to even trying to service, get to know the vendor, like the business owner or the one person providing the services. Because I realized by building those relationships and getting to know them personally, one, they go above and beyond my expectations, and then two, they really start to get to know me and what I like and for my events, and sometimes they offer or throw things in there, and not free sometimes, but maybe discounted, but even like just bringing awareness to me. Yeah, they start offering services, and like they tell me things that I like, and so they know me on a
Oh
personal
my God.
level.
Random side note. So
Yes.
today I'm coming home. I went out. I don't know why, but like I worked most of the day. It was Sunday.
Yeah.
I typically don't work on Sundays, but I was waiting on my friend to go to a pool party, which never happened, but and I was like, all right, well, while I'm waiting on her, I'm just gonna do some work, blah blah. Anyway, so then I got tired of waiting, so I went out by myself and I took a cab because I was like, I feel like I'm gonna have a couple drinks. I'm not trying to drive. I did
Right.
a cab into the city, whatever. But I took a while to take a cab because I was calling on Uber because I didn't have any cash. And in Jamaica, as far as I know, you have to pay the taxi man them in cash, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm in the car with the taxi. My grandma took money from my grandma so I could take a taxi. That's where I'm at. And I'm in the car and I was like, I called that Uber, but the Uber was like 15, 20 minutes. So I was like, let me just call a taxi. I asked my grandma to borrow some money, whatever. And he was like, oh, actually, when you call us, you can actually call us and say that you want a cab that has a credit card machine. I was like, what?
Uh,
I was like, what you He's like, yes, the cars have credit card, but you have to tell them that that's what you need. And I was like, all this time I did not know. Every time I don't have cash, I just call a Uber, and if the wait is long, I just wait for it. And then there's
Yeah,
also the fact that a lot of people don't know that Uber is even in Jamaica. But like,
yeah,
you're right. When people
yeah.
know you, they're able to actually offer you
For you
services or
services, right.
amenities that are specific to your needs. But if they don't know anything about you, they kind of don't. Yeah, no, that's real.
Exactly. So I think it's very important with building those relationships with those vendors. So from everything pre-event to the day of the event, you just have that relationship with the person. And be like, all right, cool. What time are you arriving? You don't need to even be so formal anymore, where you're like sending professional emails like, hey, George, where are you? And if you know, I'm right outside, I'm coming up. I am very intentional with building relationship with my vendors, even to the point where I share those resources with other people, event planners or people that may be looking for these services that they offer. I'll hire or I'll get a vendor for one thing, and by getting to know them, I realize they got other side hustles or businesses too, so I can put them on for those things too. I've met vendors where they originally came here to do like a balloon arch, and I realized, oh, they do photography or they're a DJ on the side as well. So I think it's very important to like build those relationships.
All right, so I'm gonna run it back. I'm gonna bring it back to like
Hmm.
the corporate setting, corporate structure. Like
Yes.
you at Broward Center of Innovation or NS.
Yes.
That's the same thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
NSU Bar Center of Innovation.
You see, this is how this
Yeah, it's a semi-private partnership between the two.
gotcha. Okay, so
Uh,
technology is revolutionizing the
oh
event
yes.
industry, right? With new tools popping up every day. As someone who is at the forefront of event planning, can you share how you leverage technology in your work at the Broward Center of Innovation? Like, what are some of the tech tools that you find indispensable?
Okay. Wow. So in the event space right now, the cool things that I've been using is like robots that actually serve and greet you at
Wait,
events.
what?
Yes, we have that.
It's fancy for me.
Yes, yeah.
You?
Yes, it's a new. So we actually have two robots right now in-house that as soon as we can program them for your event. So if you're renting the space, they can say welcome and say whatever you want them to say. They'll have your image and logo on the chest of the robot, etc. We had an event where we used this external vendor to do food passing. So they came in, you have to set up like furniture and everything already, and then the robot comes in and it literally does a marking of the space, see where it can walk and things like that, and serve guests. So we've implemented that, and guests like it because it's new. It's like random. This robot's just coming over and
Okay,
handing
so
food,
wait.
and then a lot of just a lot of our innovative things are like our um, the LED screens and things that we've used to marquee or do digital signage in the Levant Center. We work with a very great company that has all of the newest technology for those marquee and giving those directional signs and things like that. When it comes to events, I realize that a lot of it is always the same, right? It's DJ, music, and food. So we always try to figure out, all right, what is this techie new thing that we can bring to this event to make it like appealing or intriguing. Yeah, there's been a couple of things that we've looked into.
So as you were
Yeah.
talking, I was like, "Ooh, new," and then I was like, "Wait, I have feelings, right? Like, there's so many things popping up, right? People are always talking about how technology is like coming in, like like completely like
Taking.
can't find the word
Right,
destroying. That's not the word I was going to use.
right.
Destroying the workforce, right? Like, how do you feel about how like these robots are now like, all right, talk to you later, server
Yeah.
who used to get the money.
So I think in the event space, a robot, at least for me, people have to feel supported. They have to feel included. They have to feel that sense of belonging at events. And I don't think a robot can do that. So you're always going to need a human interaction, or you're going to need humans to be able to do those things. I don't think you'll ever be successful having a everything ran by robots or computers or
And
technology.
God forbid if there's some kind of technical issue.
Correct. And so I think, like for example, when we use the robots to serve, we also had like real bartenders and things like that in addition to, because again, going back to accommodating different types of demographics, there's going to be, um, people that's gonna be like, oh, I wanted the old school way, or I wanted the regular way. I don't need
Don't
all
bring
of
that
this.
robot over here. That's scary.
Right, exactly.
That person's
So
never getting any food.
yeah, so I think it all depends on what you're trying to do. I think for me, I incorporate these technologies or innovative things just to enhance the experience, give you something different to look forward to outside of your DJ, your decorations, and the food. All right, what is cool? What is something that's going to be memorable that I left this event experiencing? So that's why I personally, as an event planner, look for more innovative technology things to enhance the experience.
Okay. So the event planning industry is like notorious for its like high stress levels, leading many professionals to experience burnout. So
Ah,
Adler, with your vast experience, how have you managed to maintain your passion for the industry and avoid burnout? Because I mean, you're not just doing it like on campus or in a corporate setting, you're also doing it in a social setting, like out there in the world. Like
yes.
you made that choice. So what advice do you have for like our listeners who are, trying to strike the right balance?
Yeah, so it's a couple of things that I do to not burn myself out when it comes to events. One is doing events for things that you're passionate and like to do. So a lot of times, people are just doing events for any type of industry or any friend or any group or etc. And they don't really have a passion for it. For example, I can plan a wedding. If I wanted to, I can plan a wedding, but I would never plan a wedding. I don't have any passion or desire to plan a wedding. So for me, I will burn out faster if I was to add that to my plate. But because I'm doing events that I'm passionate about, it allows me to not get burnt out as quickly. And sometimes on my day to day, so doing events for corporate partners at the innovation center or doing events here for the students, sometimes I get over that, or I get I start to feel that fatigue, and then so I'm like, all right, cool, let me do an event for something I'm more passionate about. So I'll be like, all right, cool, let me tap into my church. So I want to do a church event this week or next month, so I'll go there. So I'll find somewhere else to do it, and then also other ways that keep me energized about events is watching other creators and people that have similar passions, like that enhances me to keep going and do things a little bit differently to spice it up so it doesn't feel, so it breaks up the monotony of events. So I'm like, all right, cool. I do events every week that looks like this, but I'm looking at this other event planner or this event curator or vibe curator, and they're doing this. So let me try to implement this into what I'm doing to make me feel like this is something new, or and gives me that fire again. Um, so it's all, and then also just another thing, I saw this on an Instagram post, and I was like, yes, and it stuck with me. Take a break. Take a break. I know sometimes, you know, we're full-time event planners and we feel like, oh my gosh, if we take a break, the income is not going to come in. We got bills to pay. But figure out how, because a break doesn't necessarily mean you just stop doing events, period. But like maybe you're not doing events as often, or maybe you take a break off 1 week from doing events, or maybe you do a little bit of delegation. So hey, maybe, hey, talking to another event planner, I had this event booked. I would like for you to take it on. Everything's already planned, or I just need you to plan it, and I'll come work it the day of, etc. Figure what that looks like, so that way you're not burnt out. So those are some of the practices that I use.
I don't know, given your background in
Yeah.
like student affairs and higher education, how has that influenced the way you approach corporate event planning? Like, can you give examples of how this like unique perspective has helped you in
Yes.
your current role as like director of events?
Yes. So my experience in student affairs and higher education has prepared me for doing events, because previously I worked with many various diverse student populations. So it's making sure that you're very intentional and making sure you're accommodating in the corporate world. Learn how to budget and manage financials through my higher education experience. So now that when I'm doing corporate events, I know how to manage that money. kind of double the funding that I used to have in higher education. So that's prepared me that way as well. Higher education has definitely created my network when it comes to vendors and resources and um, logistical things. I know somebody for anything at this point. So literally, I know somebody that does every little thing. So when I'm doing corporate events, somebody will be like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot to book a 360 photo booth." I got you. Oh, I forgot to do this. I got you. It has my experience as well. Um, so now I'm in this place where a lot of my events are more the clientele that I'm serving, they're much more mature, and they're not eating the chicken tenders and the fries that the students were eating,
Gotcha.
right?
Not fried
Um,
chicken, not fried chicken and watermelon. Got it. Okay.
yeah, no more funnel cakes and candy apple. So being in the corporate side of things, I will say that has been a new learning experience for me because I'm like, what do corporate people eat? Uh,
I'm dead. Not corporate people. Okay.
yeah, and it's so interesting. Had to go into this space or this industry with a different mind space and perspective because I could order food off the back of my hand for students and assume and know that the food is going to be gone within minutes. But now, they want the caviars and the steaks and
Okay.
the finer things. So that was an interesting learning curve, I would say, going transitioning into the corporate side.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So last question before you go.
Yeah.
What's one event you think every professional should attend in order to sharpen their skills?
Cvent. I don't know if you're familiar with the
Oh,
platform Cvent.
yeah.
So they have an annual conference every year. This year it's actually in Las Vegas. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to go this year. So, but I'm signed up for the remote option, the virtual option.
All right.
But that
I have a little thing to share. So the other day,
yes.
I jumped onto a CVent webinar
Hmm.
and I was the only one there. So that's the first thing.
Oh, really?
It said one participant the entire time. That's the first thing. The second thing was, and I'm not even trying to bash Steven. I was just really concerned. Then the second
Yes.
thing was the entire webinar was a pitch for CVent. Like I don't feel like I learned anything,
Oh, yeah.
but it wasn't advertised as a CVent pitch. It was advertised as I'm going to come and learn something. I didn't learn anything. All they
Yes.
did was talk. I guess maybe I learned some, but all they did was tell me about CVent, and I was like, "What?"
Yes.
I was like, "Well, now number one, now I know why people don't come."
Yes.
But like,
So
is their conference the same way?
so it's funny that you said that because I was about to touch on that. Cvent is definitely they need to work on their sales because sometimes they blend the two. And then so sometimes like people for myself, like I'm not interested in the platform. I'm not a fan of this event, low key, like the platform itself. So, but I do like the conference because I meet other people that are doing events and getting those resources and connections that I need to be successful in
I
my
feel like
role.
you by the way just made me realize that the season closing episode is going to be the top 10 events that every event planner should attend.
Sugar 10. Oh yeah.
It's going to be a thing. I'm
I
doing
would.
it because
I,
a lot of the people who come on my podcast tell me all the places that I should go. And
yeah.
one of the ones that I got was often was IMAX. I went to IMAX for the first time, and I told you earlier this year, but I went to the Frankfurt one. There's one also in Las Vegas. And I think I'm gonna go to that this year too. But like it was pretty solid. My
Yeah.
only pushback for that one was there wasn't a lot of like people that look like me. Um,
Yeah.
but other than that, like the content of the event is actually really great, and I got to meet a whole bunch of people. Um, I brought up my concerns about the lack of diversity to the
Oh.
people who should make a difference. So let's see how that goes.
Oh, that's good. I've never even heard of IMAX, so I'm interested in doing more research on that as well.
Anyway, I didn't
Uh,
mean to like completely kill your answer.
oh no, that's fine. That's fine. And Siva is the one I know off top because I'm again doing my transition to more events focused. I used to go to a lot of like higher ed conferences,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
NCORE or NACA, National Association for On-Campus Activities. Those
Mhm.
were good conferences too, but that's if you're, of course, in the higher education's
Yeah.
spectrum. But I've taken some Eventbrite webinars as well. They've had some cool
Me
webinars.
and Eventbrite don't have any problems. Not really. Like I did a couple YouTube videos about like, how to create like ideal Eventbrite banners and stuff, and like the right thing for graphics, like what works, what doesn't, kind of thing. And like now they
Yes.
have like the whole Chat GPT AI integration that's supposed to be helping event planners a little bit. So I haven't been to any of their actual like events though.
Oh wow! Cool. You just triggered something. I never use I use ChatGPT for like emails and stuff like that, or like to write up
I'm dead.
proposals.
Not emails and
Oh
proposals.
yeah, sometimes because sometimes you have to say what's on your mind, but in a
But
more
not say what's on your mind.
yeah, yeah. So that's what I use it for a lot.
Be like, first of all, I don't even like
Yeah.
you like that. Chat GPT, can you convert this to a more professional tone?
Yes. Yes.
And that's actually
Exactly.
really funny, but actually really good. All right, Adler. Thank you so much for
No,
your
thank
time.
you for
Thanks
the
for
great
hanging out with
opportunity.
me, and for chatting with me. And I'll see you on the flip side.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, dude.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Adventus 365. We hope you enjoyed listening and learning something new today. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to help event professionals discover us. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and sign up for our newsletter for behind-the-scenes content and updates on upcoming events. If you have any suggestions for future topics or guests, or just want to say hello, you can reach us at info@adventus365.com. We love hearing from our listeners. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Adventus 365.